All right. Good evening, trader. It is Sunday, April 18th. Thanks so much for tuning into the weekend wrap. My name is Corey, and let's see what's going on in the markets. Sorry, wrong. Okay, so as far as the news goes right now, the S&P closed at the record high again. The S&P futures have closed above the prior day's low for 17 consecutive days as of Friday. So, for somebody that likes volatility, generally speaking, and is used to a market that cycles, basically, the past 2 or 3 weeks has been pretty difficult, just because it's been on a constant uptrend. We've just been grinding up on low volume, sitting above the one standard deviation mark for literally, like I said, 17 days. So I'm looking forward to hopefully a correction coming up here in the next week. Crude oil also closed out plus 6% for the week, but again, that's going to be super susceptible to volatility when it comes to COVID-19 variants and anything that it might affect fuel demand. All signs point to a strong economic rebound that's currently underway, with the initial unemployment claims coming in 125,000 less than forecast last week. Also, both residential and commercial building permits came in better than expected. Consumer spending, or retail sales, was also much greater than expected, with a 9.5% increase month over month, where only a 5% increase was expected. Granted, we did have stimulus last month, so. Manufacturing also increased, with the Philly and New York State manufacturing indexes coming in better than expected. Also, Reuters stated that the number of businesses that failed over the course of the pandemic reached a mere 33 to 50% greater than normal, which, if you think about it and how bad the economy was or seemed to be for a stretch there, having like only a 33 to 50% increase on the number of businesses that would normally fail during any given year is amazing. So that's definitely much better than expected. Cryptocurrencies shot up to 65,000, or I should say Bitcoin did rather. However, it pulled back to the 60,000 mark and then blew through all of those stops and sold off, dropping until 53% until it found support. 53,000 before it found support. So Bitcoin is at a pretty decent buy point right now. We'll talk more about that here in a moment, though. Tech has largely led the recent boom, inferring that investors have largely priced in the recent advances in the economic data, however. On the political spectrum, politicians in Russia and the U.S. continue to go tit for tat. Russia retaliated on Friday, asking 10 U.S. diplomats to leave the country. The U.S. had also expelled the same number of Russian diplomats beforehand. These tensions arose when the U.S. imposed new sanctions on Russian national debt, which essentially it makes it so people, on Wall Street, essentially cannot buy any bonds against the Russian government, Russian bonds on government debt, basically. And also, they imposed sanctions on technology companies that generally supported Russian intelligence in their events to carry out cybercrime, such as the election interference and the SolarWinds hack. So, all right, so let's see what's on the calendar for this week. Not much in the way of economic indicators. Wednesday, we have crude oil. Last week, we had a surprise draw, so we drew by just under 6 million barrels, which is quite a lot. So oil finally started to show, some bullishness there. It had been pulling up. It has been dropping quite a bit this past month. Thursday, we have initial jobless claims and existing home sales, and then Friday we have new home sales. I added the charts over on the right, so you can see that both existing home sales and new home sales are starting to plateau just a bit. So. All right, so very big earnings week here. Monday or tomorrow we have Coca-Cola and IBM. Tuesday is a very big day. We've got Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Netflix, Abbott Labs, and Lockheed Martin, as well as Intuitive Surgical. Wednesday, Verizon, and I haven't heard of this other company, ASML ADR. I'm not familiar with them, but they actually had the biggest market cap of any company reporting on Wednesday. Thursday we have Intel, AT&T, and Danaher, and then Friday we've got Honeywell, Amex, and Royal Caribbean. So, and then also there's some pretty interesting IPOs this week. The few that caught my attention were, let's see here, which one was it? Skywater Technologies. It's a smaller company. It's got less than 100 million market cap. They're a semiconductor chip maker, etc. But that could potentially be, a space of interest. Also, what was it? UiPath. That is a software company that designs software for robotic automation. And yeah, those are the two that really caught my interest, though. Last but not least, so NeuroPace. These guys have designed a brain implant that gets implanted underneath the skull and sends electricity to the brain to treat people with epilepsy. Can't even talk. Epilepsy. So yeah, I don't know how big the market space is for a product like that, or for epilepsy in general, but it's worth looking at nonetheless. Okay, so last week, this is so this is last week here. You can see that we were most definitely bullish, but it doesn't have the same massive volatility. I mean, it was bullish. One thing that I noticed is that healthcare did much better last week than it had the weeks prior, but tech is a little bit mixed. So you can see semiconductors, and although Nvidia did amazing, up 10% last week, Intel dropped 5, and we had a few other people that companies that took losses in the semiconductor industry last week. Here's the last month, however, and you can see just how incredibly bullish things have been. The only thing that is really red on here is oil, essentially. Oil, and then a little bit in the financial sector. But pretty much everything else has just been, insane. Okay, so here's what's going on in the futures. I came in this morning, or not this morning, this afternoon, I should say, and I was initially bearish. So you can see right here in the overnight session, we've gapped down. We gapped down right off of the open, and then we took out Friday's low by like 2 ticks, and then we started to bounce. And we're putting in like an inverse head and shoulders formation. If you see the NASDAQ, I took this screenshot of the NASDAQ just a few moments ago, and it shows a similar kind of inverse head and shoulders shape. It filled the gap and then continued to trade up, testing Friday's high. So the NASDAQ is definitely leading right now. I had been short biased, but I switched it once we made a higher low here and started to trade up towards the what was the overnight high. So right now I'm mostly neutral, and I really hate to say it, but I'm really leaning more towards the bullish side. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm kind of just in like a standby period, but right now, like I said, more neutral, bullish than anything. Here's the long-term chart, and this is kind of what I've been talking about. So this is one standard deviation of the monthly VWAP right here. So this is the monthly VWAP. Like I said, we've been hovering between 1 and 2 standard deviations this entire time. Like every time we drop below it, it just got bought right back up, which is very, I mean, it's nice if you were able to catch this. I feel great for anybody that has a retirement account right now, because you're probably crushing it. But it's really difficult to trade when the market doesn't trade in normal cycles. So right now we're basically in balance up here. So I'm just kind of looking at these 2 different levels, basically Friday's high and Friday's low, to see which breaks first, and then I'll probably just trade in that direction. So as far as last week goes, my bias did play out, certainly. This is the large green candle here is the large green candle right here. So you can see I was looking for a pullback to around 4,100, and then for us to trade back up to the upside. And that's basically what it did. This is the 4,100 level here. So yeah, it basically played out. Okay, so here's some setups. Let's see what happened last week. Whoa, sorry, my PowerPoint went crazy all of a sudden. All right, so last week in the SPY, I was looking for a pullback to this trend line, and then a bounce with continuation higher. You can see how bullish the market has been because it just hit my, it just kept running off of this thing like it was a kicker, and has not pulled back since. So I am hoping that we get a correction here this week. I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but I feel like it is coming. With Palantir, I was looking for a continuation long, ultimately for us to come back up and retest this pivot high. It shot up once and then reversed and fell in on itself basically. So you might have gotten a little something out of that, but you probably would have gotten stopped at a break even. Goldman Sachs, however, did play out pretty well. So this was an earnings play, and they beat on both EPS and revenue. And this is performing well and continues to perform well. So, all right, let's see what we got on the docket for this week. So Bitcoin here, like I was talking about, we broke up really strong back above the 60K level, tested 65,000, and then started to grind down. We couldn't hold the 60K level though, and just blew through all these stops down here, and then we started to put in a V bottom. Now, I have not looked at this since around 3 o'clock this afternoon. That was probably 6 hours ago. So I don't know what it looks like currently. However, this could be either a great entry point if we can get enough volatility. This is a very nice looking V bottom right here. However, it just begs the question, it's a little bit of a riskier trade because you never know if this really strong momentum may get a second wave and a continuation to the downside. So I am looking for a correction here. I put this trade in before I saw the bullishness when we failed to take out the overnight low. When we failed to hold below Friday's low. So initially I was looking for somewhat of a mean reversion trade and a retracement to this trend line. I don't know if this is a really smart play tomorrow. It just kind of depends on what happens, but this is a maybe, I would say, for right now on the SPY. And then for NEO, this thing is setting up pretty nicely for a short. You can see we have a fairly weak low right here. So I'm either looking for a break lower tomorrow, depending on what happens, or if we're bullish Monday, bearish on Tuesday, looking for a potential retrace to the trend line here, and then for us to start to break down. So anyways, I'm looking for this low to get taken out, and then potentially this pivot low down here at 32. So key takeaways, like I said, I'm primarily neutral bullish, but I'm really just waiting for more price action to unfold before I so I can make an informed decision. Again, we have Q1 earnings this week, and there are definitely some decent good companies that are going to be IPOing on Thursday. Like I said, the market remains aggressively long, so the stakes accumulate as buyers risk becoming too long and invoking a strong correction. At this point, I think a strong correction is inevitable. I don't know. Like I said, it just begs question how long we're gonna go before this thing finally, retraces to the average. So, like I said, the S&P has failed to close below the prior day's low for 17 consecutive days. So, at some point, this thing has got to come back into balance. But that's all I got for you guys. Again, as always, I will be on tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Pacific time. Sorry last week was a little bit off and on. I just got some other things coming up. So, but yeah, like I said, this week I'll try to do my best to be here every day at 6 for the morning brief. And yeah, wish you guys the best of luck. Let's make some money. Take care.